This is the Red Line, and I am your host, Jimmy Red. Hey, welcome back to part 3 of NFL predictions that you guys have already watched in episode 1 and 2. We predicted the AFC and NFC West and the AFC and NFC North. In episode 3, we're going to go ahead and predict the East Division for both AFC and NFC. And with that being said, we're going to start with the AFC. The teams that come out of the AFC, obviously, are the Pats, Bills, Jets, and Dolphins. Everybody knows who's already going to win that conference. There's no questions asked who's going to do it. Everybody knows New England's going to win it. They got the best quarterback, best coach, best owner, win Super Bowls. They're going to win the division. The question is, who's fighting over second? How's the season going to go? We got two young quarterbacks in that division that both got drafted this year. How are they going to fare? Are they going to play very much? Or do they even get to play at all? That's what we kind of wonder, and that's what we're here to predict. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start with the team that I say is going to finish last in that division. The team that finishes last in that division is going to be the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins, I think, are really still going to struggle this year. They struggled last year. As we know, Tannehill went down early, but they lost to Dominican Sue this year, so the defense took a step back, losing to Dominican Sue, so the defense is also taking a step back. So the defense went back, but they're getting Tannehill back. They also lost Jarvis Landry as well, so I think that they're going to take steps backwards on both offense and defense of the ball. And they have a tough schedule, so I think they come in 4th in the division, and I think their record winds up being 3-13. Not a very good year for the Dolphins this year. I think they strongly struggle. I think they finish 4th in the division. Coming up into 3rd in the division, I think a team that's going to be pretty good. They got a lot of learning to do, obviously, along the way. I think that's going to be the Buffalo Bills. I think the Buffalo Bills struggle. Obviously, Josh Allen is not the prospect that Sam Darnold is. And then Nathan Peterman. We know Nathan Peterman is nobody special. Plus, Tyrod Taylor was the safety blanket there. Benjamin is their leading receiver. He struggled when he was in Carolina with a better quarterback than both of the quarterbacks he has now. Cam Newton was better than both of them. Obviously, we know that organization is very dysfunctional as it can be. So I got Buffalo finishing 3rd in that division at 4-12. The team next above that, I have the New York Jets. And I have the Jets coming in 2nd. They don't win a whole lot of games this year, but Sam Darnold wins that starting job in my mind there. And he does. He'll become the starter on day 1. Excuse me. And he'll go through the season as the starter for the New York Jets. He is by far the best quarterback to come out of the draft. He came out of the University of Southern California. Amazing prospect. Everybody says he throws a lot of interceptions. That's fine. A lot of quarterbacks throw a lot of interceptions. I mean, look at Big Ben. He throws them. Peyton Manning throws them. The only one who really doesn't do it is Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. But all the other guys throw a lot of them. So, I really like him. As a quarterback, they're not so strong on the offensive side of the ball. Defense looks good. Offensive side of the ball, I see him having a few struggles here and there. I got them coming in 2nd in the division with a record of 5-11. So, not a whole lot of wins, but Sam Darnold puts up some wins underneath of his belt. And that's good, notching him to the next level. It teaches them what they need. They progress again next year, and they become a better team. Obviously, as we said, the team that wins it is the New England Patriots. Nobody touches the Patriots whatsoever. You have the best quarterback, Tom Brady. You have the best coach, Bill Belichick. You have the best owner, Robert Kraft. You're in New England, and you've already won Super Bowls. So, obviously, New England has not much of a problem, although they did take a small step back on the offensive line. They lost their offensive tackle, Nate Solder. We'll talk about Nate Solder here later on. Actually, we'll talk about Nate Solder when we get over into a different conference here. But Nate Solder is a big loss because offensive tackles mean a lot in the NFL, and they've lost him. So I think they take a small step back on offensive line. Obviously, their wide receiver is suspended for the first few games, so that means that Philip Dorsett is going to have to step up, that guy they got from Indianapolis in that trade for Jacoby Brissett. So I think Philip Dorsett has to take that step forward, be the next one, because that's going to leave Hogan and Gronk as his 2 mains after the suspension of Edelman. So that means that they have to, Amendola, sorry. And that leads to Philip Dorsett having to step up. And if he doesn't, I think they struggle, but I think they'll be fine for the first few weeks without him. They don't have too strong of a schedule there to start the season off. I mean, they started off with Houston. Well, I know Houston's pretty tough, but I think they find a way to beat Houston. because it's Deshaun Watson's first game back. Then they go to Jacksonville, very tough defense according to everyone. I think that defense takes a step back this year because they've named themselves. So I think they take a step back. I don't think they're the same defense they're going to be as they were in years past. Then they play Detroit. We know that they got a strong defense. That's their defensive coordinator from a year ago, Matt Patricia, who took that head coaching job. So I think he understands the way the defense and the offense are ran because Josh McDaniels is still there, and he knows Bill Belichick. So I think that one could be a tough matchup, but I think Detroit struggles as well this year, so I think they win that one easily. And then Miami walk through, and their first big task, I think, is going to be Week 5. And that's when they face the Colts, and it's Andrew Luck. So that's when we're really going to find out what New England really is. But I got New England winning the division. I got them potentially being in the AFC Championship this year. I don't say they win it. There's only a few teams in the AFC that really have a shot. I think they're one of them, obviously. So we'll see what happens there. But New England, I got them coming in, winning the division 12-4. So New England wins the AFC East. And with that, we're going to switch over to the NFC side of the division in the Eastern Conference, and they have 4 teams in that. And those 4 teams would be the Redskins, Cowboys, Giants, and Eagles. That's what I have. So I think that the Redskins finished last in that division. And you ask yourself why. Well, they lost Kirk Cousins, and they got Alex Smith. Everybody says, well, it's an even trade. I can agree with that. I think it's an even trade. I don't think Kirk Cousins is much better than Alex Smith. Alex Smith is very reliable, doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. He just can't win in the playoffs. So I think they're still about the same team, possibly. I don't think they're great, but I still think they're the same team. We all know that they were, with Cousins, they were an 8-8 or 9-17. This year I had Alex Smith coming in there. I got the Redskins going 8-8 this year. I got them coming out 8-8, so I think the Skins go 8-8, and they tie for 3rd in the division, 4th or 3rd tie, whatever you want to call it, in the division. Then next, this is the one I'm going to get a lot of heat on. I already know it. I'm going to catch a lot of kickback, but that's fine. The Cowboys. I have the Cowboys tying with them, either tied for 3rd or last for the division, whatever you want to call it. I got them at 8-8 as well. And everybody says, why? Well, I think Dak is going to take a step back. Just a small one, not a huge one. And the reason I say that is because I think Zeke takes a step back. Zeke will take a step back because I think his offensive line is not going to get the push that they've got in the years past. So that means Dak is going to have to rely on his arm more. And Dak's not that kind of guy who really relies on his arm very much. I mean, I know that when it shows he has 8 or more targets, he's way over 500. But when he had to rely on Dez, he only won like 1 in 14. And his passer rating, the games that Dez wasn't there when he missed those 3, was over 100. He won all 3 games, and he had a QBR. This QBR was like incredible. His completion rating was like 71, QBR 100. It's nuts. So it proves he doesn't need Dez, but I think Zeke he does need. And that offensive line is going to struggle this year. Their secondary is still not up to par yet. They have one player there. They're still trying to land. Earl Thomas have not got him there. I don't know if they land him before this season starts. I'm not quite sure yet. But I still think that secondary struggles, and with that secondary struggling, that's going to hurt them as well. So I think with that, they go 8-8. I would like to have them a little lower than that, but I can't. The reason being is Dak has never had a losing record as a quarterback when he starts. From high school to college to the pros, he's never had it. So I got to keep him at 500 because I think he finds a way to do it. So I'm going to put the Cowboys at 8-8, tied for 3rd, tied for last, however you want to place in that division. And this one here, a lot of people are probably a little surprised with. They don't think they're going to make this big of a jump, but I do. I got the New York Giants going 2nd division. I got them finishing 9-7. And you ask yourself why? Well, they just landed Pat Shurmur, who was the offensive coordinator there for the Minnesota Vikings. And we all know this is an offensive game. He's also coming in there to try to rejuvenate the quarterback of Eli Manning, an offensive-minded guy coming in there for a veteran quarterback. I think he can find a way to rejuvenate him and get him fired up. Plus, we know in the draft they landed an awesome football player there. They got Saquon Barkley. That guy is an incredible athlete, a freak of this world at the game of football. He can play up as a slot receiver. He can run the ball between the tackles. He can do all of that. He is a bigger, stronger, maybe faster, I don't know the times off the top of my head, than Christian McCaffrey. I think he's going to have a huge impact on the game the second it starts, and it's going to be incredible because it's going to be boom, that quick. Also, they landed a running back who was here in Carolina in Jonathan Stewart, who is now there as a running back behind Paul Perkins and with Saquon Barkley. So they have that as a tandem. And then they did something really, really big. As I mentioned previous to this, Nate Solder is no longer a New England Patriot. He signed a deal to be the offensive tackle for Eli Manning, which means that front line is going to be that much better. If that front line is better, they're going to move the ball. That means Saquon's going to get the ball. That means Eli's going to have more time to throw the ball, so that they're going to be a better team. Their secondary is still strong. They still got a good secondary. They still got OBJ. I think they go 9-7 this year and finish second in the division and fight for a wild card spot there in the NFC. That's what I see. And winning the division, I got the Philadelphia Eagles. No surprise there. Philadelphia Eagles have a fantastic team. They have an awesome coach in Doug Peterson. They have probably the best backup quarterback in the game of football, Nick Foles, and one of the futures of the NFL in Carson Wentz. They have awesome running backs. I mean, obviously they had Jay Ajayi, who they landed last year that they needed. They did lose Trey Burton. Trey Burton went to Chicago, and he was the one who threw the Philly special touchdown to Foles to help him win that game. But I don't think that hurts them, because they got enough weapons that they don't have to worry about that. And I think Philly carries it through. Their secondary is amazing. Their lines, both offensive and defensive. Carson Wentz will be back to full strength, coming back from the ACL tear later on this year. I'm sure he'll miss like the first 2 or 3 weeks. Not sure how many he misses, but I'm going to say he doesn't start till week 4. So I think the first 4 games are started by Nick Foles, and they're not really too hard of the games. The first game is going to be the hardest one for them, and that's going to be against Atlanta. That one's going to be tough. I don't know who's going to win that game. If I had to go sides there, it was tough, man. I'm going to have to take Atlanta. I like Atlanta to win that game because they have Matt Ryan, who they just signed. They got Julio Jones. They got an awesome wide receiver core. They still got them. I take them to lose game 1. So I think Philly loses game 1. Then they got Tampa. Shouldn't have any problem there. James Winston is suspended. Shouldn't have any problem. I understand Ryan Fitzpatrick's their backup. Still a good quarterback. Started a few years ago in New York. But I think they have no problem winning that game. Then they play Indianapolis. At home, though, they don't travel to Indy. So they're not going to be inside that dome, which I think is going to help out a lot with the home crowd of them. I know Andrew Luck is back, but the Indianapolis Colts added to the offensive line for him. But I think they beat Indianapolis. Then they got Tennessee. That was a lingering question. A lot of questions up in the air there because they don't have a really good wide receiving core, and Marcus Mariota tends to get hurt at times during the year. So how healthy can he stay? Obviously, if he can't stay healthy, there's going to be problems. And the reason there's going to be problems is because their backup quarterback is Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert, as you guys know, not the greatest backup quarterback, and we all know Marcus Mariota has tendencies to get hurt being a starting quarterback. So I think it depends on that game there, what happens with Marcus Mariota, but I don't see him having much of a problem going against the Titans. The Titans really only played against one team that was super okay last year in my mind, and they beat them both times, and that was the Jags, and I didn't think the Jags were too spectacular in my minds. So I think that they get beat there, and then all of a sudden they come back from Minnesota, and that's when the season starts to turn up for them in week 5. And that's when Carson Wentz steps onto the floor the first time and sees his first time in game action, and that's when they face the Vikings. We know Vikings got an awesome wide receiving core, they got Kirk Cousins, and they got an awesome team. That's a team they could potentially see in the NFC Championship game. So I think that's when Carson Wentz steps in for his first game of the year. So to do a quick recap for you guys here on episode 3 of the RedLine, the AFC East, I have the Dolphins at 3-13 to finish last. Then I have the Bills at 4-12. Then I have the Jets at 5-11. Then I have the Pats at 12-4. That's how that division shakes out. On the NFC East side, I have the Redskins at 8-8, tied with the Cowboys, who are also 8-8. Finishing second, I have the Giants making a huge step forward at 9-7, and I have the Eagles at 12-14. So that's how I think the East shakes out. And this has been the RedLine, episode 3. Make sure you come back and watch episode 4, because that's got the 2 most exciting conferences, the NFC South and the AFC South. Those are the 2 I'm most excited about. So make sure you tune in to episode 4 of the RedLine.